Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The City Council to introduce themselves, starting at my right.
Ellen Zappa.
Rich Meisenkowski.
Happy Martin. Eric Carlson.
Mary Fortier.
Calvin Brown.
Town Clerk Therese Pack.
Assistant Dawn Lavella.
And I'm Mayor Kate McKay. We will have a moment of silence for troops on active duty. Thank you. Item number 2.
Approval of minutes of the regular City Council meeting on November 12th, 2014, and the special City Council meetings on November 6th, 2014, and November 10th, 2014, and the Flood and Erosion Control Board on September 29th, 2014.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
Public participation.
Here we have is Sean Roast.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to talk about a few things tonight. First off, stumbled across a video on YouTube. Not to say that everything on the video is fact, but it was a woman. Her name is Catherine Garry, G-A-R-R-Y, and she was speaking about the redevelopment in Hempstead. Basically, what she said in the video, and it's about 30 minutes long, but to shorten it and make it to the point, what she basically was saying was they had a plan that was introduced to the people of Hempstead, and it was by Urban America, and the plan had to do with density and transit, and it was an expansion of the density. Buildings were much higher than the buildings surrounding the area, and the people of Hempstead rejected that plan. And apparently, a couple years later, the plan came back again with Urban America partnered with Renaissance Downtowns, according to what this woman said. She also said that they had a public hearing in Hempstead in regard to the land transfer. It was $53 million in land that was involved in the transfer. It was not described in the public announcement to the people of Hempstead that that's the purpose of the meeting. Instead, it was described as a jobs fair event or something to that effect. People that were in opposition to that plan basically were talked negatively about. I have some concerns about the debt and the promises that were made that are very similar to what the people in Hempstead had. I know not everybody is concerned about it, but this is what I spend my free time investing, is getting my information so that I know what's happening in my town. And I'm trying to present it to everyone here in the best manner that I can, and also present it to the people of Bristol. I wish the people of Bristol would get a little bit more engaged as to what's happening. This is a transformation of Bristol, not just an urban renewal, or not just building a few houses in the downtown. We're actually changing the density, and we're building a mass of people in a small area. I spoke about the density and the relationship to crime last meeting that I was here. You have New Britain, Hamden, and West Haven all have about the same population, but have higher density and have access to, well, West Haven will have access to public transportation. The density is much higher in West Haven, actually, according to the information that I was given, and 3 times the violent crime rates of Bristol. The city of Meriden has 2 times the violent crime rates of Bristol. Also, there were some promises made to the people of Bristol from Renaissance Downtowns. I realized, they weren't able to make their deadline. That was one of the promises. They were supposed to make a deadline. There's supposed to be no public money involved. There is still public money involved. Just because it's not a handout, we're talking about building infrastructure. They also promised to build a piazza. They're not building it anymore, right? We're building it, because that's part of the new agreement. So what is Renaissance offering the residents of Bristol at this time? I'm kind of getting the feeling that we're not having a say in what's happening here. You know, we're skipping the referendum, and we're reclassifying the $6 million as, oh, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there, and we're going to build this, and it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. And I don't think it's right. I think the people of Bristol should have a choice, should get a vote. If you have confidence in the plan and you think it's a good plan, you should be able to sell it to the people of Bristol and let them vote and decide whether or not they want to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Justin, can't read the last name. Moto? I know I'm not saying that right.
Motino.
I was close. Thank you.
Good evening, Justin Motino, 101 Cameron Drive. Tonight I would like to discuss a topic that I do not see being addressed as often as I believe it should, and that is the issue of regional governments. The regional governments that have been set up across the state have been taking decision-making power away from the individual and local elected governments in many areas. These regional organizations are able to influence or control decisions that should be made at the local level by having control over state and federal grants. These regional governments are set up in such a way that if a town or city decides to act independently of the wishes of the regional association, that town or city will not receive any of their tax money back that was supposed to go to infrastructure construction and maintenance. Having to pay the cost of this maintenance without the help of state and federal grants will cause these independent thinking towns or cities to go broke. Now, this is not just my opinion of how regional associations are operating in Connecticut. This is how the state has described the influence of regional planning organizations. In 2007, the Connecticut General Assembly's Legislative Program Review and Investigation Committee released a report titled Connecticut's Regional Planning Organizations. In this report, it states that in some towns, local officials are concerned about a loss of autonomy in regards to signing on to a regional planning organization, or an RPO, and describes the tactics used by the RPOs to overcome the will of these towns who may want to go rogue and not follow the RPO plan. I will now quote from the committee report, quote, "The property tax burden on the individuals in the town that goes it alone can become very heavy. However, until the town reaches a financial tipping point where efforts to balance the provision of services with the cost of those services cannot be maintained, there may be little desire to seek out a regional solution. Only then will the town and its citizens be ready to give up some independence and join together with other towns for the provision of goods and services in order to stabilize or reduce local property taxes." End quote. Basically, the state and federal government take more and more of our money under the guise of transportation and other innocuous-sounding functions, and after deducting the massive amount that is usually lost through government bureaucracies, give us back the remaining dollars, only on the condition that we follow their strict rules and regulations. If we don't go along with their plan, we don't get our money back and the city runs out of money. The Regional Planning Association, which allocates state and federal grant money for the city of Bristol, is the Central Connecticut Regional Planning Association, or the CCRPA. In their 2012 annual report, the CCRPA stated that they coordinated with Renaissance Downtown on the Depot Square project for downtown Bristol. I would imagine that coordinating with the CCRPA is a necessity for Renaissance or any developer involved in a public-private partnership with development project in the city looking to use taxpayer money. To make the matter of regional governments even more complicated, the CCRPA has begun coordinating their regional plan with an even larger regional organization called the Sustainable Knowledge Corridor, which covers an area of over 80 towns and cities, 1.5 million people, and includes areas in Connecticut as well as Massachusetts. But who are these people that have this power and are making governmental decisions that directly affect us? The residents of Bristol do not get to vote for people to make decisions for them at the regional level. I wonder how many Bristol residents know that this is how the system is working. I see people coming in here suggesting their ideas and opinions of what they think should be done, specifically in the downtown project, as if they don't know the plan is pretty much laid out already. The federal and state governments are specifically focused on awarding money to development projects that can be described as sustainable development or smart growth. That is, projects which create multi-unit housing to increase population density built along a public transportation line, while at the same time structuring street design in a way that focuses less on private motor vehicle use. This is why Renaissance and other large developers create these smart growth plans of sustainable development. That is not the only way. That is the only way they're going to get the grant money. Again, this is not my opinion. This is how Renaissance describes the process on their website. I'll quote from their website, quote, "The presidential administration and Congress, through their Sustainable Communities Initiative, amongst other efforts, is looking to award federal dollars to large-scale smart growth redevelopment efforts, especially those that focus on transit-oriented development within our nation's downtowns. With this in mind, a comprehensive downtown redevelopment project designed to meet these objectives stands a far greater chance of receiving significant funding dollars than smaller isolated efforts. In short, the government is not looking to provide just streetscape grants and sidewalk benches. They are looking for transformative projects focused on our nation's downtowns." End quote.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just for your information, CCRPA will no longer exist as of January 1.
Yes, I know, they're merging to even the smaller organizations, 8, they're merging into 8, right?
Bristol is joining the Naugatuck Valley COG 19.
Yes, the COG 19.
Naugatuck Valley, I'm sure you guys will do your research. You'll find
Yeah, well, the regional organizations from 15 are merging into 8. But, all right. Well,
Okay, thank you. Ed Dusko.
Hello, Mr. Mayor,
How are you?
everybody in the council. I'm not on top of my game because I got up at 3:30 this morning to do my ice stories this morning. Right, doing that stuff. I went to the BDDC meeting, okay? You know, I don't agree with everything that's going on there. Okay, they have to do their work. It'll ultimately come to you. It's going to ultimately come to you, isn't it? Yes? No?
Yes, we've been involved, yes.
Okay, good. But you know what? What I told them last night is, I haven't met anybody in town that thinks it's a great idea to put 1,000 apartments downtown. I mean, what are we going to have? We're going to have what? Some bodega with glass pipes? What are we going to have over there? Okay? I just don't think this is right. Look, I went down this road in these 4 walls before with these great projects from 7 people. Okay? None of you were involved. None of you. Maybe you were there. Okay? Yeah, you were here. Ellen came to the house. Ellen, you came to the house. You came over there with Craig Miner, right? Oh, it's a great idea. We got to. It's 10 years later. There's just nothing there. So much for all your wisdom. You know what I think? When you get to that point, I can't wait till January 31st comes. No, well, March 31st. Like I said, I woke up at 3:30 this morning. I'm tired. I did my stuff, okay? I'm tired, okay? But when March 31st comes along, I wouldn't give these people an extension. I wouldn't give them an extension. I mean, how long do you have to wait? I mean, the economy was the bottom. You've got projects going on here, there, everywhere, in all these cities. You haven't built anything anywhere. I would say March 31st, goodbye. Goodbye. You know what? Well, that's my opinion, but I think that's a lot of opinion of a lot of people that I talk to. And I wish a lot of council members, and I think you know that. I think you honestly know that. I think you do. So, you know, that's all. It's been a long day for me. I got up at 3:30 this morning and I'm going home.
Thank you. Sweet dreams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good night. All right, I'm going to call up Pat Nelligan to the podium, please. As many know, the city recently, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago, removed the steel structure that was on the Trudon Platte property. This is a property that the city acquired years and years ago that is contaminated. Pat, along with Ed Swicklish, Justin Malley in my office, has been working feverishly on the plan for this property. And Pat is here to announce the plan. I'm excited about it, and I know, Pat, you're even more excited about it.
You just said everything you needed to. Pat Nelligan, 136 Rockville Ave, Bristol, Connecticut. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm a lifelong Bristol resident, and if you know me, you know that I'm all about veterans. the Bristol Veterans Council, our mantra is honoring past, present, and future veterans. And we're extremely fortunate to have the boulevard and the monuments that are there that pay tribute to our brethren who have gone before us. So I'm going to tell you tonight about an organization. If you'll permit me, I'll just read a quick vignette. They're called the Special Guerrilla Unit, who are the SGU, LAU, Hmong Vietnam veterans. The U.S. Secret Army Special Guerrilla Unit service in the Vietnam War in Laos from 1961 to 1975. From the beginning of the Vietnam War, the CIA and Special Forces of the United States recruited, trained, supervised, led, and paid Lao Hmong soldiers to fight the NBA in Laos and the Ho Chi Minh Trail for the benefit of the United States Armed Forces. This falls into the category of the U.S. military. During this time, from 1961 to 1975, and for several years thereafter, the Lao Hmong lost over 35,000 dead, and many, many more were wounded. Their valor, loyalty, and effectiveness fighting the NBA were never in doubt. The United States Congress has recognized these war veterans with citations and medals for their efforts in the Vietnam War. Also, a monument at Arlington National Cemetery honoring these brave soldiers has been established and on display since 1997, although none are eligible to be buried in this revered cemetery. Many thousands of these soldiers escaped the communist control of Laos and found themselves in refugee camps in Thailand. From Thailand, many immigrated to the U.S. and have become honorable citizens. These former soldiers have gathered together to form their own veterans organization, the SGU, Lao Hmong Vietnam Veterans. Many thousands of the SGU did not escape and were captured and sent to POW camps. Needless to say, the conditions of these camps were deplorable and many died. But several dozens of these POWs also made their way to the USA. The SGU, Special Guerrilla Unit, of the Secret Army of the United States Army, in pursuing the United States and the city of Bristol for full recognition of the military duties, look for the mayor to provide a memorandum of record allowing them to raise money to put a monument, their national monument, on a former Truden and Platt property on Down Street, adjacent to the Down Street Cemetery. The plan is as follows. With this memorandum, they will start their fundraising. They are willing to pay for in full whatever remediation is necessary for that brownfield abatement, and then establish their monument on top of the platform that used to be the depot, for lack of a better word, where the trucks unloaded. I will give you the quick, down and dirty rendition of what this monument is shaping up to be. Picture, if you will, a vintage era Huey helicopter stationed on a pole, but the pole is hidden with the look of a rope going down. That pole is attached to that base. That concrete base will have a fallen airman and a Special Forces Guerrilla Unit soldier rescuing him, looking skyward to this rope, and on the base will be all of the vintage era accoutrement of what the Special Guerrilla Unit soldier would be carrying and the downed airman would have had prior to his rescue. So the whole thing is basically an education memorial, but the key to it is that concrete platform will then tell the story of this very, very special organization, because unfortunately for them, without any chance to have a national recognition in Arlington of the magnitude of what they have and nowhere to tell their story, it's going to die with them. And because of Bristol's veterans population and what we do for our country and for this city relative to paying tribute, the colonel that is in charge of the unit for the country is named Colonel Sarr. He lives in Wethersfield. He saw our boulevard 2 years ago when we rededicated the bridge, fell in love with it, and asked if he could put a monument there. The answer was unfortunately no, because there's not a Bristol connection. However, after doing some investigating and look at what happened in Down Street in that property, imposing to them this option if they would pay for remediation, I got a thumbs up, and they started talking to all of their organization nationwide, and they're all on board. So again, in conclusion, Mayor, if we could get a memorandum of record with your approval, they are now a 501c3 organization, and we'll start their fundraising. And I'll take any questions.
If I could just add one more thing, and I don't know if you wanted to say this or not, but you already secured a Huey helicopter.
Yes, I did. I'm anticipating good things from this meeting tonight.
And we've already cleared a space with Walt. He was gracious enough to find us a place to store the helicopter until they're able to raise the money. Pat, Pat's pretty excited that this can happen fairly quick.
I do. And some of the gentlemen that they're talking to already are former CIA high-ups that are willing to write checks.
And also, Pat, just for the councils, this did go before the Veterans Council.
Veterans Council has approved this in entirety. The only caveat was it couldn't be on the boulevard, because that's for Bristol residents only.
But it's close enough to the boulevard where it's literally right next door.
And once approved, they will become adjunct members of the Bristol Veterans Council. We're going to do that for that organization.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
I just had a comment. I think this is a great use of that property, and I would just suggest that as we start to tie things together and that tie in with the boulevard, that you do think about making a presentation to the Cemetery Commission as well.
Sure.
They could be a partner with the Revolutionary Cemetery that is going to overlook your site.
We've already had that conversation, putting a walkway up there. We've already discussed tying it all.
I will.
And I also think for them, and as you're aware, the Memorial Military Museum is not necessarily just Bristol-based, and that could also be a great
Good idea.
resource for you as well, because they have people coming in from all over the country to do resource studying and everything else.
And any of the artifacts they'd like to perhaps put there on display. It's a great idea. Okay.
Yes. So, what's the name of the organization that's raising the money?
The SGU, Special Guerrilla Unit.
SGU. So can I have a motion, I guess, to approve? What exactly are you looking for?
I need a memorandum for record from you on behalf of the City of Bristol authorizing them to fundraise for that property, to make that their national
For
monument.
council, what kind of motion do we need?
Can it just be move memorandum of record to allow this on the downsite property? Or is that too vague?
Mayor, I'm not sure what kind of motion, so perhaps something as simple as giving authorization to the mayor or acting mayor on behalf of the city to make inquiry and sign any and all documents necessary to establish a fund with the NG.
Or just need our approval.
Yeah,
Use of the property.
yeah, I mean, we need to do a little bit of research on how to coordinate all of this, I think, Mayor, and I'm sorry, I wish I had realized that we were thinking about it. I'm just thinking perhaps it might be as easy as getting authority from the council to have the mayor or acting mayor research an agreement with the NGU, is that what it's called? SGU, with the SGU for establishment of a national monument to, the veterans that are in play with us. Maybe we can then work off of that.
Can I have that motion, please? Second. Motion made, seconded. Discussion.
Would it also be appropriate to, after this, just to make a general motion to endorse the concept for the use of that property? And that might just be a little more
Want to put it
easy.
included in this?
Enthusiastic.
Included in this motion. Will you amend that?
Yes, amend the motion to include an endorsement for the overall plan.
I'll second. Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Are you good with that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Pat, thank you. Good luck. Okay. Item number 4. Announcements. Starting my far right.
Couple brief announcements. The West End Association is meeting tomorrow at 7. They also have a couple of large events planned for January. The Bristol Boys and Girls Club has officially opened with the children transitioning to the new club, and that's up and running. And just a pitch for buying local for holiday. Muzzy field ornaments are available at the Historical Society, and also a great and unique gift would also be tickets to the new Bristol Blues baseball team that will be at Muzzy this summer as well.
Yeah. Bristol Choral Society and Brass and Wind Ensemble are going to have their holiday concert called Holiday Scenes, December 14th, Sunday, 4 p.m. at St. Paul Catholic High School. Tickets Tickets are $12, and Mr. Mayor, I believe you want to get a ticket, you better get one soon because they are almost sold out.
I happen to know Councilwoman Zappo does have extra tickets.
Sure.
There could be a surcharge, but yeah.
That's it. So moved.
And I don't mean to interrupt, but for those of you that don't know, Councilman Carlson is part of the actual show on Sundays, which makes it extra special. He's a member of the Bristol Choral Society. He doesn't say that when he tells their events.
And
But
unfortunately, I'm also missing a rehearsal right now, which started at 7 o'clock. So I'll sing quiet when in case I miss a note or two.
And I would add that there's another musical event in Forestville on Wednesday. The Forestville Village Association will be sponsoring their annual Carol Sing, and the more of you that come, the less you'll be able to hear me. So that will be a good thing, because I'm not a member of the Choral Society. But that begins at 7 o'clock on Wednesday in the center of Forestville, right by the old train station. Also, just a reminder, if folks are able to give blood if possible. This time of year, we're all very busy doing other things, and the Red Cross suffers for lack of donations. So please, if you are able to, please do so. And that's it for me.
Just a few quick announcements from the library. A lot of exciting stuff happening at the library. For anybody that's interested in getting weekly updates about things that are happening with Bristol Public Library, the system will soon be part of something called Wowbrary, which is a weekly newsletter that gives updates on the latest library happenings for every department. And if you're interested in getting those newsletters, you can go to wowbrary.org and put in the Bristol zip code to get to the page where you can enter your email address and sign up for the newsletters. Also, Sunday hours at the Bristol Public Library will begin on January 4th, 2015, and continue through March 29th. That's Sunday hours. The main library will be open from 1 to 5 p.m. It's a good time to get a new library card or renew your expired one. Internet services and Wi-Fi are available along with other regular library services on Sundays. And then lastly, something that I'm personally very excited about and very proud of the library director and everybody at the Bristol Public Library for beginning the process of, which is creating a makerspace for the Bristol Public Library, which is just sort of an area where members of the community can come together and do hands-on activities that are involved in sort of design and creation, and encourages those STEM skills that are so necessary in today's world, sort of a flavor of engineering. Hopefully, my fingers are crossed that as the library feels their way through creating their own makerspace, one day we'll have 3D printers there for members of the public to use, because I can sit down and watch a 3D printer work for a long, long time. They're fascinating. And that's it for me.
Thank you. I have a couple. Last week, the city completed purchase of the CLMP of the street lights, all 5575 public street lights in Bristol. This purchase will enable us to lower our rates for electrical service by about $400,000 annual, with the savings to the taxpayers about $300,000 after anticipated maintenance costs. We are looking forward to working with the Mayor's Task Force on Energy Consumption to realize even greater savings by introducing energy-efficient fixtures. Citizens of Bristol should report any street light outages to Public Works Department. So that was in the works for a number of years, so it's happy to get that done. Then the last one is Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments, NVCOG, has selected the following officers to administer the NVCOG beginning January 1, 2015. Chairman, Mayor O'Leary Waterbury. Vice Chair, Mayor Loretti Shelton. Treasurer, Mayor Tom Dunn Wilka. Secretary, Mayor Ken Cocaine, Bristol. The NVCOG is new regional planning organization, the result of a state-mandated merger existing regional planning organizations, Valley of Council of Governments, the Council of Governments of Central Naugatuck Valley, Connecticut, as well as Bristol and Plymouth. Municipalities of Ansonia, Beacon Falls, Bethlehem, Bristol, Cheshire, Derby, Middlebury, Naugatuck, Oxford, Plymouth, Prospect, Seymour, Shelton, Southbury, Thomason, Waterbury, Watertown, Wolcott, Woodbury make up the members of NDCOG, and that's 19 municipalities. And that's all I have. Item number 5. Reports and committees, starting with far left.
I'll give one quick update from the Parks Department. The Parks Department has removed the American flags from the Veterans Memorial Boulevard for the season, and they will be put back up the week of April 12th, 2015. The outdoor skating rink is in the process of being assembled at Stocks Playground, and it will be open when the ice is completely frozen, so not quite yet, but soon. Programs for the first winter registration have started and will continue through January. Registration for the second winter youth programs will begin the third week of January. Starting in January, Parks and Rec will be offering adult pottery classes, and registration is currently open. The 29th annual Santaland will open next Thursday through Sunday in Rockwell Park from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and on Thursday and Friday from noon to 4 p.m. And that's it for me.
Okay, just one for me. I just want to remind people that may not be aware that there is a public hearing tomorrow night regarding the sale of the former Bingham and O'Connell schools. If anyone is interested, that's at 5:30 in this room tomorrow.
Yes, real estate, I have a motion to bring forward. I hereby move the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to negotiate for the purchase of the premises known as 240 Park Street, Bristol, Connecticut, for park department purposes. I further move the mayor or acting mayor report back to the city council as to the status of the negotiations upon their completion. Can I ask for a second? And a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussions. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
One no. Two noes. Two noes. So motion passes 5-2. Thank you. Any reports?
Very quickly, the marketing and branding manager was hired. I think most of you read it in the paper today. Mark Waller-Ziak. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. He came well prepared to the first meeting.
Would have been a lot worse.
He came well prepared at a first marketing meeting and put a great one-year plan together, and I look for exciting things to happen with Mark on board.
Councilman? Councilwoman?
Yes, I have 2 reports. The first one is a continuation of joint board. We did have Greg Hahn come and present the check for $850 to the city, which represents profits from the November 11th Veterans Council. So to start my report, I'd like to officially make a motion to refer that to the Board of Finance for acceptance.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Quickly, we do have another item. I believe some of you received it late yesterday via email that we would like to also have a motion concerning an agreement with the Main Street Community Foundation. We would like to begin private fundraising. We do believe that there are many entities, both individual, private, and others that would like to contribute to the restoration project. So we have decided on a short-term basis to ask Main Street Community Foundation to work with us to be the fiduciary recipient for those funds. Eventually, as the management and organizational structure is determined for the building long-term, this would most likely go away. But what it does right now is it allows us to accept donations and also offer a tax-deductible benefit to people who may be so interested. So that agreement was circulated yesterday to the council late in the day. It was looked at by the Memorial Boulevard School Task Force last night, and they had no comment, and they recommended approval. So unless anybody has any comments, at least for discussion purposes right now, I'd like to place that motion on the floor as well.
Second.
We have a formal motion.
Right, the movement, it would be to move the agreement between the city and Main Street Community Foundation, Inc. for the establishment of a non-endowed project fund for restoration of the Memorial Boulevard School to be approved, and that the mayor be authorized to execute said agreement. And then we're going to further move that the agreement be referred back to the Corporation Counsel's office for its review and comment in case Main Street Community Foundation has any changes that they'd like to suggest.
We have a second.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Councilwoman, did you have other donations that you also want accepted by the council and referred to Board of Finance with an additional $250?
Those smaller donations that I turned in earlier are actually part of a larger program book revenue line item that I think the Controller's Office is handling separately. That may be accepted in bulk at some point once they're all collected. Okay. So it's really just that larger check that I think I'd like referred. Okay. We, as a task force, have decided to focus some of our work and fine-tune some of our efforts over the next 60 days. And what we've done is kind of revamped some of our committees, and we're moving into more of a microcosm of looking at some of the details that need to be done, including the letters of interest from parties looking to lease space. And I just would like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that all of us pooled our resources today of all the contacts that we've been accumulating since probably the summer. And there's over 30 people who appear on this list who have expressed interest. A few of them have toured during our open house, and all of them have asked to come back and view the space again. So this list is going to be the primer for how we go about attracting interest and seeing how the non-theater space is going to be used. We're also looking at a governance task force subcommittee to work out the details about what that management structure is going to look like in 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. And that will also include a transition component from city ownership to eventual, hopefully, private ownership. The theater group is going to continue to work, and they're going to also be talking about potential tenants. We have 4 letters of interest from organizations that would like to use the theater on a long-term basis as well. This subgroup will continue to look at rental prices and equipment and upgrades that will be needed, and then again, long-term, some of the future issues with building and theater managers. All of this brings me to the point of wanting to also talk about, since the successful November weekend, many of us have received calls from entities and groups that want to use the building right away. So we obviously don't have the ability to do that during the winter, but we are going to be looking at a spring schedule, a summer schedule, and maybe potentially a fall schedule. And we do believe that there's enough interest in order to do that. So at some point in the future, we're going to be coming back to the council and referring these specific items to the requisite committees for approvals, and to see if, in between getting the building study assessment report back and any potential work that happens there, also seeing if we could do what we did in November with some short-term revenue-generating opportunities. There's also interest from a lot of private citizens to have a fundraiser in late spring, which would also bring additional monies into the building as well, and we're looking at that for the end of April. We continue to get communications. Today I got another one in the mail from people who want to add their opinions. This woman sent me some programs of potential uses. I really think that the community is engaged, and I think that it's something that is going to continue to grow. I met with Don Ledger, the city's grants administrator, last week, and the grant review process has begun for the potential of this building, and it's large. It's a large list, and it's varied, and I think that there's some great opportunities there as well. What I just passed out to everyone is just a summary of where we stand with the financial piece of November, which I did not have available last month. So just for the viewing audience, the total revenue that we took in was almost $6,000. It ranged from all of the revenue associated with the God Bless America Sunday show, which had a ticket price. We did take in some money from salvage. We had ad book revenue of $2,200 and tonight's donation from the Bristol Brass and Wind Ensemble. The expenses totaled a little over $4,000, and they included paying the Public Works custodial staff some cleaning supplies, the limelight, the fireproofing of the curtain, and some incidental printing for the event. That leaves us with $1,800 that we are in the black coming out of that event, and so that will potentially be seed money for something that we can do in the future or as needs arise. Does anybody have any questions concerning that?
Is the fireproof of the curtain, is that just a one-time charge?
It's a one-time charge, and the fireproofing of the curtain comes with a certification that it's good for 5 years. So that will be a permanent resource within that theater that nobody else will have to worry about as the use goes forward.
Any other questions?
I have a brief code enforcement report as well. In the last 30 days, we've seen a lot of activity, and some just baseline data that I always share with you. In the last month, there's been 28 foreclosures. Again, the majority of them happening in District 2 and District 1 and District 3, kind of tying with 7 and 8 respectively, 13 in District 2. They range from single-family to multifamily and some apartments and condos, it appears. There's also a lot of changes happening in the West End, and I think we're going to be seeing some transitions with certain businesses that are there now coming in and out in the next month. We have moved our meeting date for those of you who follow code enforcement beginning in calendar year 2015. We're going to be moving to the first Wednesday of the month as opposed to the third in order to accommodate some people's city department schedules, as well as to be able to catch the council calendar in a more efficient manner. In the last month, for those of you who remember, the winter used to be a very dormant time period for code enforcement, but just even in the last month, just out of the building department code enforcement, not including fire or health, there's been over 37 items that have been transacted, ranging from unsafe property maintenance violations, illegal dwelling units, unsecured buildings, debris in rear yard, and the list goes on. So it's been a very aggressive effort, which is going to continue. That's it.
Thank you. Do we start with you or end with you? Okay. Unfinished business, starting my far right.
I don't have anything per se, but I did want to take a moment to talk about an issue that came up last spring, and that's the homelessness issue. As we get closer to the holidays and everyone's feeling maybe a little bit more generous, I would just like to remind everyone that a lot of what we do in the city, especially as it relates to code enforcement, displacement, is not part of the city youth services and community services budget. So any donations, especially of new personal hygiene products, etc., gift cards, would be appreciated. I also want to take a moment to thank those city departments and city staff who came out for the Charity Cycling Challenge bowling event, which happened the Sunday before Thanksgiving. We had 5 or 6 teams come out from various departments, and one of the designated entities was the Bristol Youth and Community Services Department, and they raised over $2,000 for that department in order to continue to take care of those families that are in need when situations like this come upon them. So it's an evolving issue, and there has been a work group comprised of many of our social service agencies that have been working on this issue since last May. Unfortunately, a lot of the data remains elusive, and that's something that they're trying to work through with these work groups. And I think once we see that, some of that data, we're going to have to really look at ways to deal with some of these pressing issues as they really continue to promulgate within the community. One item for anyone who may run into situations is that the one thing that has grown out of this communication process is that when our shelter is filled in Bristol, there are now formal arrangements that there's an overflow shelter in New Britain and that they'll be able to move back and forth to. Again, I'm not sure if that's going to be more of a temporary or permanent situation, because the shelters do obviously fill up at this time of year, but it's good to see a lot of these agencies starting to talk together across the continuum of care.
Councilwoman?
No, thank you. Nothing, Councilman.
No.
Chair has none. New business, starting my left.
No.
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 Are we going to talk about the item that was in the paper last week about the community events being promoted on the Depot Square?
Good. Sure. Yes, what we are doing, and really not there yet, but we're waiting for some numbers from Public Works. We have decided, in conjunction with the Chamber, Park Department, as well as Public Works, we are going to take the corner of Riverside Avenue and North Main Street. And the thought is to put a greenscape down there, sod, turf, with our showmobile, and have something every weekend, whether it's a concert, magic show, farmer's market, craft fair, just have activity downtown every weekend. Jim, would you like to stand up and speak to this, please? You're really taking the lead with your chamber. I know this wasn't planned, so I'm putting you on the spot.
It's okay, I'm used to it.
But so this is something that we all met at the parking lot. When I say we all, Chamber, myself, Walt, who am I missing? Engineers, Justin Malley, BDA, Attorney Lacey, new marketing person. And when we talked about what would be the best site, it was marked out. We all went back for a second visit, looked at it, and we agreed that this is where it's going to go.
So the thought process was that there's 15 acres across Depot Square from McDonald's on out, and the pieces that Renaissance and the BDDC are focused on right now is along Main Street and somewhat along Riverside Avenue, but it's the back corner of the property, which leaves an awful lot of acreage that could sit there and be used while we continue to develop moving forward. So since it's there, and there seems to be ideas around what we could potentially do to draw anywhere from 500 to 1,000 or even 1,500 people a weekend to downtown, with all the community and economic development that goes along with all that, then could we possibly put community events on the parcels of the property that do not affect or will not impede on any of the development in the piece along Main Street and the part that Renaissance and BDDC are focusing on? The answer is yes. So there's already things that we've seen gone down there. I mean, the car shows show up, and it just seems like it would be a relatively simple, quote unquote, activity to put together a community calendar with all the different service organizations in town. So the Chamber is going to help coordinate all the different ideas that people will have to put events downtown that would draw a number of people on weekends between, let's say, April and October. Mayor brought up a couple ideas around, art shows, farmers markets, craft fairs, carnivals, which already exist. At the same time, we'll have an amphitheater built in, because if you know the property, it slopes down in that corner. Going to the corner of North Main Street and Riverside Avenue is actually a decline. So if you look at it and we walk the property with all concerned, it's kind of a natural amphitheater, the way that it slopes down there. And that, I think, is the piece that the mayor's talking about, turning into a greenscape. So we'll have the staging in the corner and then sod going up the incline for people to put, blankets and have picnics and basically have a concert in the park feel to it. At the same time, there's a whole bunch of property behind there that can be used for car shows and carnivals and other types of things like that. So the Chamber is going to coordinate. We're going to resurrect the inter-service agents organization that used to be in existence a few years back, with all the different nonprofits, churches, clubs, etc., and then kind of see who would be interested in what type of event. If you had that property at your disposal, what could you possibly do there? And then line up a calendar of events. It's a bit of a challenge to get them all filled in, but we do have a lot of organizations, and it's a great property to use. So,
Jim, I should have said you're the president of the Bristol Chamber.
Yes, 200 Main Street.
I should have, I'm sorry for not using your title. But the ideas are endless. So any council, anyone from public, reach out to my office, the Chamber, and throw your ideas at us. I know we talked about perhaps reaching out to the organizations, Federal Hill Association, West End Association,
all of the above.
Everyone. And we're just trying to bring people downtown and continue to bring excitement downtown is what we're doing.
and not cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, this is going to be very inexpensive. We're waiting for the final numbers, and when I have those, I'll bring them to the board of finance.
Just one quick question. I know in the past we've, whatever organization wanted to have an event on that site, they always had to go through the real estate committee. Do they still have to go through that?
Yeah, they're still going to have land to do their, whatever they've had in the past. This is utilizing the corner, just to have something there constantly.
I think what we're going to do is, we're going to
Right.
coordinate a lot of those ideas and then make sure that the events happen.
But do you have to go back to the real estate committee every time you want an event?
Once we have a chamber, once we have a schedule set up of some ideas, then we'll go to the real estate committee to get approval of the calendar. This is in the very beginning stages. That's why I really didn't bring it up, because there was nothing to talk about. But it's an exciting time,
Yeah.
but we're still working on it. It's in the very beginning stages.
Again, if we can get 500 to 1,000, like we did with the Children's Parade this last weekend. We had over 1,000 people come down for that. It was a great event.
And, we've done in past, Papa Piazza, we had the food festival downtown. That was packed until the rain came. Any questions?
But please bring your ideas to me again.
Thank you. Councilwoman, any new business? Any other new business? And I have nothing. Resignations.
There's one resignation. It's from Gardner Wright from the Bristol Downtown Development Corporation.
I have a motion to accept and send a letter of thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9.
Appointments.
Commission on Aging to appoint Patricia Malone, Section 2-9 resignation under unexpired term to 3/17. Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Assistant Corporation Counsel to reappoint Tom Conlon, 5-year term to 12/19.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Bristol Development Authority to reappoint Mike Rivers, to reappoint John Lafreniere, 5-year term to 12/19.
Approved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Bristol Housing Authority to reappoint David Godine, 5-year term to 12/19.
Approved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Housing Code Board of Appeals to reappoint John Fitzgerald, to reappoint Orlando Calf, 5-year term to 12/31/19.
Approved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Superintendent of Parks to reappoint Edward Swickless, 4-year term to 12/18.
Approved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Ed. You're stuck with me for another year at least. Board of Park Commissioners to reappoint Robert Friedel, to reappoint Susan Everett, 3-year term to 12/17. Term begins January 1, 2015.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Iron Lake Area Study Committee to replace Arthur Moreno. Oh, no, take that one off. Never mind. Board of Police Commissioners to reappoint Robert Mado, 3-year term to 12/17.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Bristol Property Renewal Corp. Let's see. Bristol Board of Water Commissioners to appoint John Fitzgerald to replace Sean Dunn, 3-year term to 12/17.
Approved.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, Mayor, I'm going to vote no without prejudice toward Mr. Fitzgerald. I think Mr. Dunn has done a fine job as a commissioner. He's passionate about the role he's played as a citizen representative, And as a civil engineer with a natural resources background, I think he's a good fit. So I'm going to vote no on his appointment.
Any other discussion?
Yes. I also will be voting no for some of the same reasons that Councilwoman Zappo mentioned. And I also want to add that I served for many years. I think it's literally almost 7 years since the inception of the Housing Code Board of Appeals with John Fitzgerald, and he's been chair of that board since its inception, which again is a very new, when it was a new board, that was a brave thing to do, to be the chairperson, and he's continued admirably in that role. So again, I want to make it clear that it's not in any way in opposition to John Fitzgerald.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
No.
3 noes, motion passes. Order Board of Commissioners to reappoint Robert Bedell, 3-year term to 12/17.
So moved.
Motion made, second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Do we have a motion for the Elk Valley Council government? Thank you. Okay. Now that the Naugatuck Valley Regional Planning Commissioners has been reformed and the city as a member, it is requested appointment a representative, but the appointment is subject to the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Now, I did speak to Bill Beats, and this name came from Bill Beats. So I move